Principal Barber.
Hi.
How are you?
Superintendent
So
Hill.
good to
How are
see you.
Thank you for coming by. Please
Happy
take
to
a
be
seat.
here. Thank you. How you feeling?
I'm good. Just finishing up a couple of reports. How are you?
I was just here last week and you look as good as you did last week. I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good,
Thank you for
good.
coming by.
Awesome.
Did you see Miss Judy out front? She was asking if you were coming today.
I did see her and I spoke to her. It was
Good.
so nice to see her again.
Good.
You have
The
a great
love
staff.
They love
That's-
it when you come here.
Great.
They
Good to
love
be back.
See you.
Good to be back.
Absolutely.
So I am so excited about talking with you about your data and your evaluation. And you know, you've already submitted your artifacts online. So
Did
have
you
a
get
chance to
everything?
look at those. Yes, thank you. You were very efficient.
Thank you.
You submitted them on time, so I've had plenty of time to look at it. So I'm ready. I hope you are ready to have a
ready.
discussion.
I think I'm ready.
Good. I actually brought you a copy. I know you had it online.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Okay, thank you
Have
so
you a
much.
copy so you can look at as we talk through it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So our conversation is not going to be as long as we've had before, so because we've had some other conversations. But I want to first talk to you about the TWC data and just highlight just a few things that I saw that look really well as far as how your students are doing, how your staff is receiving the data. So when I look at the TWC, I just want to highlight just a couple things. I noticed that the teachers feel really good about using assessment data to inform their instruction. What do you think about that?
Yes, I think a lot of that is coming from our work with the reading programs. We've really worked through our school improvement plan to develop some interventions and practice some things and sort of try some things. And so I think on the ELA side, we're pretty strong in progress monitoring, screening our students, and projecting towards the end.
Okay. Are you involved in PLTs, professional learning tests?
Absolutely. And actually, remember you came over 2 months ago and came to a
That
meeting.
is right. That is right. I'm glad that that's still in effect because that will help continue to drive your instructional practices. The other things I just wanted to point out in your instructional areas, the professional learning communities, as you had mentioned, they're aligning with the instructional practices, so the teacher's feeling great about that.
Good.
And you're providing the supports, including coaching. That sounds like that's doing really well. It's actually higher than the our district average, so that's great. There are a couple of areas we'll come back and look at in the instructional support area, but I just want to highlight those couple of things. And you've seen your rest of your data. You've seen the
Yes.
part. I thought the PDP area you are offering. Your PDP is offering is data driven.
Yes.
That is a plus. It's just as high as the our public school average as well as the state average. So that's great. And then you got a couple other PD areas that are pretty high. So I thought that was great. And along with that, you got a lot more great things happening in your school. You see all these green areas I've highlighted? You have some great things happening here at Sunnydale Elementary.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So let's get into the nitty gritty and talk about your evaluation. And my goal for us today is for to be a support for you and to leave you with at least 3 goals that you can work on and create SMART goals so that by the time we finish, you have SMART goals that'll help you throughout the rest of next year. Sounds good? Okay. Any questions before I start? And so this is your copy. We're just going to start with Standard 1. We're looking at Standard 1, and knowing that you've been here for about 18 months, I have one question for you. What is your systematic plan for reaching all of your students?
So in terms of our systematic plan, that's probably embedded in our school improvement plan. And as you know, we did not have a school improvement team when I came on board. So that's something that we've been working through. So the first 6 months of the first year was really about establishing the team and looking and seeing if the mission and vision that was already set was still applicable. So looking into this year, as you know, and coming to visit us, we've really been working through trying to monitor those goals that we've set. And I think our reading data, again, shows that we're moving towards that target. To be completely transparent, as I self-evaluated, I think we've got some work to do in math and in science, and also some of, as you mentioned, our TWC areas.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. I think, compared to our district and state, across the board, we all have low performance grades. I think our scores can stand to be improved across the district and state. And for your school, and definitely in reading, you have beat the district and state goals. But in math, you can definitely see a trend, especially in fifth grade, where you were at 29.5% and the district is at 46.9%. But I see in each one of these, and that's what we'll talk about with your SMART goals later, that you will set your goal to be much higher for each one of them, even including reading as well. You
Absolutely.
agree with that? So we can come together and create what that percentage will be that you would want to have your students measure up to. Because again, that's SMART. You want to make sure it's a measurable goal that we create. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Awesome. So with this overall area for strategic leadership, we've been talking about it throughout the year, and we talked about your school improvement plan and so forth, and then your ability to lead change in this new environment. So overall, I think you are still developing, showing that progress that you're making. So here we have already marked that this entire area. You have some areas that are proficient here, but overall you are developing in this area. And we will continue again to come up with a strategy for the support. Okay? And then instructional leadership, you'll follow along on your second page. You'll see that as well. And you've looked at this rubric before, so you saw with instructional leadership, and you can connect it back to your TWC. You saw that there was even here a recommendation for the 360 feedback. Have you used that before?
I'm not.
Okay. So you talked about your school improvement plan there. So what here do you think is driving the instructional leadership piece other than your school improvement plan?
Well, I think our achievement data and our focus on PD
Okay.
and reading data and understanding data and using data to drive the instructional process. I think also looking at our formative assessments, like
Okay.
I said before, looking at progress monitoring, and again, I'll be the first to admit we're stronger in the math areas than we are in the reading, but in experiencing the success, I think we're going to get the buy-in from the teachers, the reading teachers and science teachers, to continue to develop that process.
Okay. So that's good. It's a collaborative effort.
Yes.
So that everyone's working together too.
Absolutely.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. Because I actually had that question about how teachers are empowered to lead. So that's good.
We noticed that was an area in our TWC that we wanted to go ahead and work through in coming in and really sort of having a deeper focus on instruction.
Okay.
First 6 months we really focused on organizational issues and getting some processes and procedures, discipline, having a safe and secure environment. And now going into the first full year, we've really started looking into instruction and having teacher buy-in and sort of trying to address that.
Well, that's good. So each time I share this feedback, anytime I mention developing, like I mentioned earlier, I do want to wrap up our conversation with really specific strategies, as you've already started thinking of strategies, and let's hone into what those strategies will be, so that by the time you finish, you walk away with those goals and strategies in mind. Okay? So very good. So then we talked about a little bit about the 360 feedback, and we'll come back to that, and hopefully we can insert that into one of the strategies that you use. Cultural leadership. That is a big one, because that really is the environment of your school and how well you acknowledge and celebrate the staff in your school. You talked about PLTs already, how that's collaborative effort and so forth. So that plays a big part of it too. So what things do you do with your staff to acknowledge the failures and accomplishments?
Well, again, we put a focus on data, and so we really try to sell, while we are not, as you mentioned, where we would want to be in comparison to the state or the district, we want to be at 100%. We really focus on the small wins, whether or not it is our students are walking in lines, we have reduced tardies, everyone is on task for being on their hallway duties. We try to acknowledge even the smallest of things and get those quick wins and continue to build our culture.
Okay, sounds good. So this area is not an area I think we need to focus on. I think we could use this area as just continuous to monitor it, but it's not an area that's developing at all. In fact, you're proficient in quite a few of the areas, and one area you're accomplishing. So way to go on that. Human resource leadership. Now we always have to create a goal around this one, and I saw your retention data. And also saw some more information about, I think there was some things about how your parents are feeling. That information about the survey that came in where the parents and teachers, parents and students in grades 3 through 5 rated your school. Let me see if I can find that. You've probably seen this already, right?
Absolutely.
When you see this, what is your impression of this when they say, there's someone at the school who cares about me and the homework helps me learn, but it's only 50% that agree with that. And the classroom work is interesting, but it's only 60% that agree with that. What is your impression of this data?
So at first blush, all of them are very important. 3 of them are student responses and 2 are parents. And the student responses were some of the lowest in the sense of feeling actively engaged and like our program is rigorous. And again, I think that drives right back to the quality of instruction, focusing on our PLTs, and also empowering the teachers. Want to look a little bit deeper into our TWC about how they're feeling about their work and their ownership of the work.
Right,
So,
that's exactly where I was wanting you to tie that in. Great connection. Because you know when teachers are happy and they're enjoying their staff and enjoying the environment, your retention rate improves, and you'll likely see somewhere this feedback improving. So when you're thinking about what you want to do to retain your teachers, what strategy do you already have in mind?
So I probably have to say retention is probably not my greatest area of strength. I'm a little bit at a loss in that area, and I'm totally open to suggestions.
I'm happy, and actually, you know, I've been doing this for a few years, and I'm happy to give you some support around that area. So we're gonna revisit the HR area as well as the instructional area that we talked about, and we also already talked about the very first area. We're gonna come back to that, okay? So we're on target. We'll come back and look at those different areas. We have just 2 more standards: managerial leadership, in the external development leadership. Those areas are not of a concern at this time. Do you have any questions about those areas? I know we've already talked about them in detail, but just want to make sure we address them.
Yeah.
Okay, with the 3 strategies or standards that we've talked about so far, the very first one that we mentioned earlier, we had talked about the strategic leadership. And you had talked very much about the data being one of your strong points in your school. So one of the suggestions I have for you is that if you would want to look back at the student progress on a quarterly basis, take that data, because it's the end of your data, so it's really at the end. So back to what you do for the school improvement plan, to establish a plan that's quarterly, where your staff is getting together and coming up with a plan after you get that data right away. And that will be a strategy, and it certainly can give you someone that you can go and observe to see that in action. Okay? That makes sense, and we can talk about that in more detail too. And then secondly, we were talking about the instructional leadership strategy. We talked about the 360 feedback, and I could give you an example of what that looks like and to see how that would work, but it's going to give you feedback from everyone across the board, so you can monitor that and also give you some constructive ways on supporting your school. And not just you, because every bit of the feedback you get is not just meant for you. It's going to help your staff, so it's meant to be shared. You have a leadership team, right? Who's on your leadership team?
My assistant principals, my instructional facilitator, my lead counselor, and my departmental chairs.
Okay, so you would use all that information with them and continue to share with the entire staff. And then you may also want to look at learning rounds with your teams, your teachers, and implement that within your school. We'll talk a lot about that now, but later, but because we are definitely running out of some time. But we'll talk about that in detail about the learning rounds and give you some examples. And I'll also come to your school and help model that for you as well. And then lastly, we'll just finish up with your HR leadership. And I know you have some ideas, this is one you're struggling with, but working lunching with your staff and a new staff orientation that's ongoing. Those are some things we can implement along with some other ideas. We'll brainstorm and come up with some other ideas, but the new staff orientation, we'll get some input from your staff and have that being an ongoing practice throughout your school. Okay, do you have any other questions, or you have any questions first? Well, I'm going to wrap up with you, but this is not the end, just the beginning. We'll continue to work together closely.
Okay.
So nice to see you.
Good to see you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.